Helps when you hit the go live button. Ha. Okay. All right, guys. So I think I did all that correctly. Should be able to unmute myself. Couple minutes late. I was streaming, didn't realize there is now a go live button. So I obviously had to hit that go live button in order to go live. So let's just move that a little bit out of the way. I'm going to tweet this. Something may have broke. Let me give that a tweet. So I hope everyone had a great weekend thus far. Delete that old one. There we go. If someone could just fire away in chat, let me know that everything's coming through the way I think it is. It seems to be. Hey, Jenny. Awesome. So we got some people. I'll just, while people trickle in, I kind of go over the game plan here today. So I'm sure some people have noticed on the channel, and anyone who has who's new to the channel, this may seem normal, but what I started is a couple weeks ago, I started these short videos, right, where I just take a minute each night and I say, here's the stock I'm looking at the next day, and go from there. And basically, I don't want all of the videos to be something like that, because that doesn't really teach people the way I want to teach people how to trade, how to be successful at trading, and to increase their edge over the market. So what I want to do is, on top of those, which people seem to love and they seem to be doing very well, I want to do a stream once a week where I go over all of them and how I traded them and how that worked for me. And at the same time, take a look at what the markets are doing, do some technical analysis on the overall markets for preparing for next week, scan through, try to find a couple names for next week and what I'm going to be doing the short video about next week, and then answer any questions that I got from you guys. So that's generally going to be the game plan here. And then there is going to be more longer form content coming back to the channel. I just need to figure out what that's gonna look like, right? Sunday morning trading show. That's the game plan, right? Just, it's stuff. Basically, my plan is to try to figure out a way to let you guys into stuff that I'm going to be doing anyway, right? And try to give you guys value from that without really increasing my workflow too much, right? Because everything that you're seeing here is stuff that I do every Sunday anyway. But yeah, so when it comes to the longer form content on the channel, I'm thinking some live swing trades the way that I did, where I recorded my entry, the reason for the entry, fast forward a couple days, why I exited, the reasons, right? Because I'm always process over results when it comes to this stuff. I just never want to be one of those guys. Hey, look at me. I made this trade and made a bunch of money off it. It's what does that help you guys, right? I want to be this is why I did this, and this is what you may want to take into your own trading plans and go from there. So a little bit of housekeeping. The two software programs I'm going to use here are Trend Spider and Trade Ideas. Links for both of those in the description below if you're interested. Those are affiliate links. They help out the channel and make this financially worthwhile. Also, I have a website that I don't know what I'm going to do with yet, but it's there. So if you go visit it, and where is this here? So many windows. So there's the website. I'm sure the people that are here have probably already been there, but you can sign up for an email list down here at the bottom. I won't spam you with anything, don't worry. And you can check out my website. There's a free trading course here that I did with my wife, where I just taught her basically how to trade. All 36 lessons are here, and they're free, and those will always be free there. So all right, well, let's just get into her then. Game plan, I guess. Let's start with the overall market and what happened last week, and kind of what I'm looking at for this week. So long story short, if I do this, do you guys see this? Oh yeah, you do. That's great. Straight up, basically, right? Last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days in a row, all green, all straight up. We had this broadening formation going on here. All right, we gapped above that, gapped down the next day, and then just ran. So just super bullish action right now in the market. It was funny to see end of the world, and then end of the world, and away we go. And then this was the end of the world, and that was the end of the world. So just every time we pull back, just note it for what it is until it's something different, which is a pullback into a bull market. If you look at these gray bars here, which is TrendSpider's volume by price, you can see we're basically above everything. That's just a symptom of being at all-time highs, but it just to tell you that, even when we pulled back, we didn't even have the guts to try to retest this volume node. We didn't have the guts to test these lows at all. We didn't even get to this low here, right? So, everyone was panicking. Everyone was freaking out all over Twitter. I was doing a little bit of trolling. And, ever since then, just straight bullish. Now, that being said, one thing I wanted to show you guys, again, this website is Koifin. It's a great free website for analytics like this. If we go into the US sectors here, and let's just turn them all on for now, all the US sectors, and make that full screen. Chart looks kind of messed. Month to date, that looks a little better. This is a good visual indication of what has actually been happening with the market, where the market as a whole has been holding up, but I'm sure you guys have seen on Twitter and everything, just different traders saying that it's a hard market, and they lost a bunch of money and all of this stuff. But the only people that are really getting burned, particularly in these markets, is the people who are focused on these growth stocks, right? With technology being down here, right? Healthcare being down here, consumer staples, consumer discretionary as well, right? So these are your quote unquote growth stocks, where it's your EV names, it's the stuff that you're not even, the stuff that you don't need but you buy anyway, technology, things like this. But what's doing well when those things are doing poorly is we have XLE right up here, which is energy. Right below that, we have XLF, which is our financials, XLB, which is industrials, and then XLU, which is utilities. So then these are your boring stocks, right? These are your, your fossils and your Macy's and your oil type companies. So even though the market in and of itself is strong, it's always important to go and look at these internals to see where is the money flowing into and out of. And a quick look here shows me anyway that it's going into energy and financials and boring names, and then out of things like, you know, your Teslas and your Neos and your rides and all that kind of stuff. So if we go to the industries instead of the sectors, and there's just a bunch more industries, you can see retail is doing very well. XME, I think, is metals, right? Yeah, so metals and mining is doing great. ALMP is oil and gas, right? No, MPLs. Yeah, so it's the same tale of the tape, right? All of the boring stuff is doing well, and then your SMH, which is your semiconductor, your TAN, which is your solar power, IBB, internet, right? All of these things are doing much worse. So when you're trading, it's important to note that, you know, you have to switch where you're looking as time goes by, and that's what some good kind of algorithms will show you. So here on the market, there's really not a whole lot to say. If we go to a weekly chart, you know, it really kind of puts into perspective what this big, scary, quote unquote, end of the world pullback actually was, right? It was just this little blip in the radar in this overall bull trend. So this trend line that I'm drawing here continues to hold, with a kind of top to that trend line being right there. And as long as this just kind of, you know, does this all day, then it's just going to pay to be bullish. Things that would turn me bearish, I wouldn't be bearish until we kind of broke this area. You know, I may be more cautious if something crazy occurred, but, you know, if we look back, everything's kind of looking strong there. So the only ones I want to focus on is our strong sectors that we're looking at. So I want to look at XLF, which finally got above these early 2020 highs. It was one of the last sectors to actually kind of break out from those pandemic levels. If we go back monthly, I just want to look at the 2008 highs. And yeah, we're well above those now. All right, so you can see this was right before the financial crisis. This was right before the pandemic. And now we've closed for 2 weeks above those highs. So if we pull back on financials, this line here is going to be the area to watch. If we start accumulating around that area, that would be something I would take a look at. Gold is going to be just continued death march, isn't it? Yeah. So one place I'm watching in gold is right here. If we can pull back to there and then bounce, that's kind of interesting because that's the last area that we bounced through here. It is a big kind of rounded bottom happening here. So this could be a cup and maybe forming a handle here, maybe. So we've got to take a look at that. Let's go into the weekly on gold. Not 2 hours, weekly. Yeah, just nothing to see here, quite honestly, for me anyway. So XLE energy, energy's bouncing, as we talked about here, broke over these recent highs, pushing higher. Big high volume node here, so it'd be interesting to watch what's going to occur in this kind of $60 area, if we get there, of course, with some other resistance kind of going in through here. So we're tapping it now. So I wouldn't be shocked to see some sort of pullback and then maybe a breakthrough. If we just kind of soar through this area and test highs here nonstop, then that's just going to be a hell of a bull run. So again, I want to just know these, not so much to make trading decisions off of, but more so that I get a picture in my head of what's going on and where. And tan, right? You can just see, just same kind of thing. Bounce here, it's technically we've had a low and then a lower high and then a lower low. And the question is, will this high be a lower high? And we're going to just continue to make a downtrend. So what I'm watching, and I think the area for tan that everyone is kind of watching, is just right here. You can see this was resistance and support and then resistance. So if we get back up there, will it act as resistance again? Do we fail before that, or does it just rocket through, right? So this is the area that I'm watching. So we'll call that 107 to 108-ish. Do I think volume by price will come to TI? Eventually, right? We've got to remember with trade ideas, small company, massive priorities list of things they want to do. Just the question is, where would something like that fall in that priorities list? You know, that versus integration with a new broker or something like that, it would probably take a back seat. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about the market. Again, this rotation from growth into value seems to still be working. The rotation from, the interesting stocks into the boring stocks is also very interesting, right? Going from, looking at Teslas and Ride and all of these things to stocks like Macy's, which reason I just keep bringing that up is I'm in Macy's right now, and so far it's just been a phenomenal trade. And I bought Macy's on a breakout over this level, and just to get what would that be as a percentage? Yeah, 10-15% at a Macy's in 2 days is just not something that you would normally see. So let's take a look at these shorts and the wrap-ups of them. This is the second part of what I like to do in this series, just so that you guys are kind of seeing what it is I'm actually doing with these. So again, if you don't know, this is the youtube.com/ right, so this is kind of what's going on now. So this is, if we do this, basically I'm doing these 1 minute or a little bit under 1 minute videos all week, and then I do a wrap up, right? So we did 1, 2, 3, 4, and then this was the one for Monday, I believe, and then I wrap them up here, and that's going to be the same thing here. We're going to wrap up all of these, and then I'll do another 4 and then a wrap up. More videos like this one coming, where it's going to be me talking to different indicators and stuff that I'm building into trade ideas. And then the game plan at some point is to get back into recording live trades and things like that, which I think will help you guys out as well. I like doing those from an educational point of view, where I kind of show this is what I'm after, where the reason that I entered, right, the reason where my stop was, the reason that I exited, I think is just way more important than just generic, here's what I traded and why. So the first one of the week was BKE, and I'm just loading up the videos here on another monitor so I can see exactly where I was looking at them. So it looks like it was on this candle right here, like that. So but this was kind of the synopsis that I was looking at, right? Just strong stock, kind of pulling back. It was in that lame stock kind of a name where, there's just nothing going on here, right? It's a family store. It's a clothing store. It's nothing interesting. I did pick this up, and I still am in some. I sold a chunk out on Friday. It's just not, what I don't like about this is that it's just not going it's going the direction that I wanted, but just there's not that power there. So the way I look at things is not only cost, but opportunity cost. Is there somewhere that I could allocate my money that would work a little bit better? So I think the position of this one I'm in is tiny, 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 tiny at this point. ATI, kind of embarrassed about how I played this one. So here was I think I've done ATI twice now. I think the first one was on this breakout, and I got a good couple days out of this. And then the next one was on this breakout right here. And we got 2 days of action, and then I actually got stopped out right here as we broke this kind of doji candles low. Let's zoom in a bit. So yeah, I got stopped out kind of right in this area, and then just turned around and went, and the thing still looks great. So I really wish that, you know, I had a little more diamond hands on that one, but that's just the nature of them. LPI was really the standout of the week. And this, again, going into the theory, and this is why I always start out by looking at the sectors, because LPI is petroleum. We've talked about oil and petroleum and USO and these things being really strong. So I was looking at this. Oh, I should turn pre-market off, so it probably looks a little closer to, yeah. LPI, just trying to look for right here. So that's what I drew on the chart in the short. So this one was great because it actually opened under the prior day's low, and I just took it on a break of that low in the position still here. And most of it, I think this was like, I need to look at the actual math, but near 20% up from here. And again, the theory behind this one was pretty simple, old school technical analysis, right? It seems to like these pullbacks, right? This declining triangle and then a declining triangle, right? So we had a pop from there, and then another declining triangle and a pop from there. If you zoom back, this was another declining triangle that it popped from, and then we just put in another, right, declining triangle. We popped from it. So eventually this will stop working, but it's one of those that, you know, if it works for you 2 or 3 times and it doesn't work once, then that's still great. And even if it works for you once and then doesn't work for you once, that should be great as well, because, right, you just manage your risk accordingly, and a 50-50 win rate is all you need. Last was SLS here, and this is just on Friday, right? So this is the one that I did on Friday, where essentially synopsis was just, it had this kind of history of running, and it had put in these 2 hammer candles and then was kind of just hitting its head against this resistance. I did pick up some of this over Friday's high, but obviously, or over Thursday's high, so right here, but obviously really nothing occurred yet, right? We're up very slightly from our entry, and we'll see what happens on Monday going forward. Some other trades that I'm in that I didn't put shorts for is I picked up some Revlon on Friday. Makeup. We're joking around with some of my trader buds where it's like Levi's has been doing well. Barnes & Noble, B-E-N-D. B-E-N-D. N-E-D? Yeah. So Barnes & Noble, so it's been like pants, books, and makeup, like, you know, just Macy's, the most boring type of things, as opposed to, you know, pharmaceuticals and autonomous vehicles and, you know, internet companies and all of this. But we go to where the money is, right? That's our job as traders. So we go to where the cash is. So that's all well and good. So that's our market. Market's looking strong. There's no reason to think that this rotation into value from growth is done. It will be at some point, and we will switch back then to looking more in the growth name of things. When it comes to what I'm going to look for as we scan through, it's going to be, again, more of this simpler type of names. And the concept that I always use to make sure I'm in what's strong is just relative strength. And this Macy's is something I wanted to show as an example of what it is that what I look at, right? So if we take a look here at, I'll bring in a chart from Trade Ideas, and let's properties, and we'll turn off symbol linking, and we'll just make this as the SPY. Right, so we want to just keep this in mind, what's going on here, especially in this area, right? This craziness that was going on here in the SPY, in which, come on, get out of here. Right, we were selling off pretty dramatically, and there was, CNBC had the banner about crashes and people on Twitter losing their mind, and Elon drops out of the richest man in the world, and all this pseudo panic. If you look at what was happening at Macy's at the same time, it was not participating in the downfall. If you want to look at what LPI was doing at that time, it was not participating in that downfall, right? So this is what I do. I had a question from a client the other day who basically said, okay, I'm a long only trader. What do I do in a down market? And what do I do if the market turns to a bear? And this is what I told him, and it's what I'll tell you guys, is go to the stocks that are not participating in the down move. There's always going to be something. And, say we go back in the SPY and we take a look at March, right? We had this insane down move in March. What I was trading and what most of the guys that I know were trading and what we were looking at were things like Zoom. So if we go back to March, right, in Zoom, you can see, although volatile, great moves higher. There was Peloton. Basically, you could just grab anything that wasn't selling off when the market was tanking, and that's where you want to look at. So that's where we, that's where we need to take a look. So I see, Brett, new all-time high would be a good alert. You can certainly do that. You can go, there's a custom that you can add for lifetime high or lifetime low in trade ideas. Let me just show you a little bit of a detour, but that's fine. Log in. Hurry up. All right, so I have a video on these custom formulas I can send you if you need it, but if you go down in the custom formula section, which you find the back end of trade ideas, you can always grab these two links at the bottom right here, these guys, and they will show you what you can run customs on. So there's everything that's here, but then there's also this guy here, and there is in here a lifetime. Yeah, high life and low life. So these would be the all-time highs and lows that we have recorded for that stock. And you can go from there. How do I find the stocks and sectors that are showing relative strength and weakness? So one of the main things that I'll do is in trade ideas. And again, if you don't have trade ideas, links are in the description below for that and Trend Spider. The sectors, I like to use this Koifin, and I'm not affiliated with them the way I am with the other guys, but it's a great website for looking at, let's make this big and go back so it's a little less cluttered. They have this section on the side that has market dashboard, and you can go into sectors, and let me just put in the sectors, and it will show you the trends over a last period of time. So if I go quarter to date, you can see in the last quarter, these are all of the different sectors and their performance, right? So you can really, really easily spot the energy, the financials, and the consumer or the communications that have been doing well. Now, when it comes to stocks in and of itself, what I'll do is I'll actually do two things. One is I'll look for a scan like this that picks up trade ideas score. And what the score is basically a ranking of a relative strength and weakness type of thing, where it shows, okay, this is what the strongest stocks in the market are. So what it's mainly looking for is its technicals, fundamentals, statistical and social aspects, and looks for what's being what's positive and what's negative there. So heavily weighted on the technical side, like heavily weighted, because we just believe that that's the side that's going to tell the most about short-term direction. But it also includes things like, is the company making money? Is that earnings increasing or decreasing? Things like this. So that's one way to look at it. The other way is to basically just take a look at stocks, and you can use any filters, but one of my favorite is just the position and range. And you can do this for any time frame you want. You can do 2 years. You can even do lifetime. So if you don't want to use a custom for that lifetime range, you can do high end. You can say I want it to be right in the top end of its lifetime range and making new highs on the day. I'm just grabbing that custom formula video right here. You can check that out. It's like 10 minutes and it will walk you through the custom formula section, so you can save that for when we're done. But yeah, so if you want to do that all-time highs without doing a custom, all you would do is you would add in this filter and put say 99 or something as a minimum. Because if you guys don't know, basically what our position range filters do is say this is yesterday's candle, just to make it easier. We would mark the low of this candle and we'd call that 0%, and then we'd mark the high of the candle and we'd call it 100%. So if I wanted stocks that were in the low end of yesterday's range, I could say 20 as a maximum and 0 as a minimum. And then from there, I'm just finding things that are in the low end of the range. So with a 99 in lifetime range, if this candle represented the entire life of the stock, it means here's stocks that are right up here. So if you're looking for stocks that are strong, say the market has been selling off for 10 days, you can go here and you can actually add in this filter to say, I want stocks that are in the high end, call them 80% of the 10-day range. So, say this represents the last 10-day candle. You're basically saying, I want stocks that are kind of up in this area of that 10-day candle. And, if the SPY is just tanking and whatever stock you're looking at is holding higher, then you're just finding stocks that are relative strength. So again, two ways to do it. One is these position and range filters, which I use a lot of. And then another one that's a little bit easier, but, less customizable is this score index, in which anything that's above, say a 60 is going to be stocks that are strong. And to be, it's so obvious, but also counterintuitive at the same time. But it really is the easiest way to trade, and the easiest thing to focus on is just saying what is beating everything else and let me get on the side of that. And it's actually one of the things that's been academically studied the most in markets and trading and everything like that, and has been shown to be the most profitable just over the long run, where I say this all the time, so again, apologies to anyone who's heard the rant, but you always got to think, what is my edge as a trader? What do I have over banks and brokers and hedge funds and prop firms, HFT firms, right? These type of things. There's tons of market participants. What do I do, and what is my edge over them? They have more money than you. They have better technology than you. They have faster execution than you. They have better rates or better fees than you. Their order flow is not being sold in the way yours is. They have tons of advantage over you, but your main advantage is that you're small and nimble. So, doing a relative strength style strategy where you're always looking for what's doing the best when the market is selling, then basically you have that advantage because you can be in, the Zoom or something like that when the market's tanking, and then flip out of that way easier, right? You can get in and out in a blink of an eye, and hedge funds and institutions can't. It may take them days to get in. It may take them days to get back out. So again, right, that's where you're going to focus, and that's where I suggest all traders, especially new traders, focus and go from there. So what I generally do is when the market is strong the way it is now, I look for breakouts, and when the market is weak, I look for relative strength, and that way I'm always kind of staying on the side of what's moving kind of for me and in my direction. My music stopped. Why did my music stop? More music. Here we go. Yes, we go. Yeah, so sorry. It was technical, fundamental, social, and then we have some statistical analysis-based filters in there. So things that, again, I can't give away all the secret sauce, but some things that are, if this occurs, then you should give it an extra high rank because that has a statistically significant chance of meaning the stock's going to go higher or lower. Now, again, questions you can ask away as we go. We did the wrap-ups for what happened on the shorts. I don't think we had a single one that could have lost money, which is great. We went over the markets. Again, just the value rotation seems to be the thing that's kicking and working well. And then lastly here, I'm going to go through and I'm going to scan for a handful of stocks that I'll tweet out later tonight. If you're not following me on Twitter, do that. Also try to find what stock I'm going to make the short video about for Sunday, and then I'll turn off the stream, and then I record and I upload that, and we go from there. So again, I hate doing this stuff, but like now that the channel's grown a bit, YouTube's like sending me emails and stuff about what I need to do to grow more. So I have to ask you guys to like the video. As someone who watches YouTube, I like cringe every time, but I get it now. YouTube yells at them and says, listen, if you want our algorithm to push your shit out to more people, you have to ask people to like the video, or it's just not gonna, because I guess that's what it uses. So the way we go. Michael, do we have indicators for retracements and reversals? Depends what you mean by those, right? There's Fibonacci type things for retracements. If you're looking for pullback plays, there's you can use moving averages for retracements. You can use any kind of oscillator. An RSI is common, stochastics, that type of thing. You can just use position and range and find the low end of a range if you're looking for a kind of a support reversal. Tons of different ways to do it. So you need to know a little bit more about what you're interested in. Jenny asks, do you like to short when the market is weak and go long if the market is strong? I, generally speaking, stick to on the swing trading just more the long side, and that's just because I've studied my statistics and I'm not very good at shorting. So it's one of those, I don't do it. Now, when I want to short, I actually usually express shorts through inverse ETFs, the SDS being a good one. But more than anything, like again, as the market was selling the last week, I was just looking for stocks that weren't selling. And then when the market kind of held its footing, I started to pile into these stocks that didn't participate in the down move, which is more or less how I deal with them. Now, if we ever get into a full-on bear market, that's when I will be a little bit more interesting in day trading, which is another way that I deal with a bad market. Which, the basically, when you get into a bear market, the volatility of the market dramatically increases. Where, you may want to trade say you want to buy a stock, you want to make 5% out of it. That may take you a week in a bull market. You buy the stock, you wait a week, you make your 5%, you move on. In a bear market, a 5% move on stocks will be a day, right? Day, in and out. And so it's better for me to shrink time horizon. So again, if I'm going to be in a bear market, which again, there's no sign right now that's going to happen, but yeah, I will be day trading way more as opposed to swing trading, going to bed in cash, and I will be looking for stocks that are not participating in the sell-off and looking to buy those in any sort of kind of market footing. So Brett, GBBC or BTTC, which do you prefer to trade for Bitcoin swings? So I actually trade the coins themselves. I use Kraken for my broker, and no affiliation with them there, but I have some things that you guys don't really know too much about in the crypto space outside of what you guys see from me on the stock side of things. So I'm very familiar with crypto and with crypto trading. Kraken's a good one. They have futures, they have margin, you can short, things like that. When it comes to the actual stocks, if you're just planning on holding them for a long period of time, a GBTC would work fine, which I think is the Bitcoin Trust, right? These things would work fine. The problem with these is obviously the 24-hour market versus the limited market. The 24-hour market, if Bitcoin gets cut in half tomorrow or tonight, which again, anyone who's traded Bitcoin for any length of time, taking a 20-30% down day is no big deal. The stock, the other instrument, won't react until the open the next day. So that's why I like to actually focus on the security. I actually there's a lot of people, gap traders and things, that will have a very hard time when the market goes 24/7. I'm going to love it because as an automated algorithmic kind of trader, one thing I love about trading crypto is I can take my trade, I can put out my stop loss, I can put out my profit target, and I can walk away. I don't need to worry about a market closing. I don't need to worry about a market halt. I don't need to, it just goes, right? It just kind of works the way it works. So that's how I do it anyway. For trading, I'm in Kraken, and I'm using their leverage account from there. I'll send you a test scan for next week's session if that's okay. Yeah, sure thing, Sam. Let me know. What are your thoughts on scanning based on bid ask? I don't like as someone, I have probably spent more time staring at a level 2 than any of you guys. And by the way, while we do this, I'm going to go through and start my scans here. So this current list, just so you guys can follow along. This is everything I have on my liked list, which means it's everything that I was watching going into Friday. I'm going to see what's still relevant and clear those off and then go from there. But again, because I can do that while I answer your guys' questions. And I'm going to just make this a weekly chart so I can see what's going on in the week. And then I'm going to symbol link it to everything else. So I spent my early trading career trading with a level 2 only. The prop firm I started at, you didn't get charts for the first 3 months of you working there. You weren't allowed to look at a chart. It was, this was in early 2000s, 2005, 6, around there. So you didn't get a chart. You sat down. Here's your level 2, stare at your level 2. This is it. This is all that matters. This GRTS, another trade that I got that looked great, and now it doesn't, but I got to keep an eye on that. So I spent a lot of time staring at level 2. I spent a lot of time trading with level 2. And back in the day when I started, it worked because you had to show your bid size, you had to show your ask size. These things were being executed by humans, so I could trade around them. And part of the game was, you'd find a stock would come up to $20 even for the first time in the day, and you'd be able to look and see, oh, there's someone trying to sell 10,000 shares of the stock at $20. Let me offer 1,000 shares short them at $19.99, and then it would drop 4 or 5 cents, and you would buy them back, and you'd make $50, and it'd go back up. You could do that 5 or 6 times, and you could watch that order on the level 2, and when it disappeared, you could punch into it because, again, it was done with humans instead of computers, so you were able to play that game. Now, anybody and everybody who trades with any amount of size and knows how to trade hides their orders. Like, I hide my orders. If I'm trading over, a couple thousand shares on a clip, I will, if I'm taking a $50,000 position in a stock, and it's a fairly liquid stock, right? Something like G-Tech here, I'm going to hide my orders. And because everybody can do it, it means that all of the smart money is hiding their orders. And then some of the, I say smart money, let's say institutions, all of them are hiding their orders through dark pools, iceberg orders, algorithms. You're not, the only thing that you can do to detect them is the charts now. You can't do it through level 2 anymore. Same with everyone else, right? Same with any sophisticated trader is hiding their orders. So because of that, I completely disregard level 2 bid asks, haven't looked at it in years. It's just not an accurate representation of what was happening. Can you hide orders in IB? Yeah, you can change. They have a section called display, how much you want to display. So an iceberg order, if you guys don't know, kind of as we scan here. And I really like the look of this iRobot with it, big strong move, right? Rocketed up, pulled back, and now it's putting in this kind of sideways chop in through here. Big short float still. This was probably, around the same time as the meme stocks, but a breakout here could get us, even if we kind of tagged 140, that'd be interested. But yeah, you can go into interactive brokers and you can say, I want to display, say I want to buy 10,000 shares, but I only want to display 100 shares. And what will happen is, say you're selling, say I'm selling Med Express at $40, and I have 100,000 shares to sell. I can make it so the broker puts up 100 shares. And then every time that 100 shares is bought, they replace it with 100 shares. And then that's bought, and then they replace it with 100 shares. And this is happening, programmatically and algorithmically just over and over and over again until my 10,000 shares or 100,000 shares or whatever we use as an example is gone. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's perfectly legal. It's a way to hide your order, which also makes the level 2 less relevant because anyone looking at the level 2 would say, oh, there's only 100 shares there to sell. But because it's just being replaced, you don't know whether that guy's selling 200 shares or whether he's selling 2 million shares. On top of that, what different brokers will do is they'll say, okay, well, on top of going through and saying, let's be sneaky about these orders that we have to put out in the market, they won't even put them out in the market at all, in which, what they'll do is they'll put out an iceberg order and they'll notice if that iceberg is getting hit, they'll cancel it. And again, this is all done completely programmatically with computers, but right, they'll put out their 100 shares. If it gets hit, they'll put out another 100 shares. If it gets hit, they'll put out another 100 shares. And then if they notice that that's getting hit very often, they'll yank that order entirely, let the stock spike up, and then they'll put it back at a little bit of a higher price. So, and on top of this, they're using algorithms that will basically, if I'm going to buy a million shares of WWE here, I can just put it into an algorithm that says buy them randomly, buy them with a random amount of shares, and buy them at random times. And the reason they do this is so that traders like us and market makers and other hedge funds and things can't see what they're doing. Sam says how to find an iceberg order. It's really, really hard. You basically need to be watching the tape. And what you're watching for is, the stock printing 100 shares, 100 shares, 100 shares, 100 shares, but it's not going anywhere. It's just stuck at a level. But again, that was, right? So these are the games that used to exist in trading that don't anymore, because as the market was getting computerized and we were going from chasing large bids and offers, we started chasing iceberg orders, kind of the same idea you just had. So, well, why don't I just look for them? I can either buy when the iceberg order lifts or I can short before it. So then the hedge funds adapted and they said, okay, well, we're going to cancel our orders every time we see that we may be noticed as an iceberg order. So again, that's why I abandoned all of that stuff, because it was always chasing the dragon, and it was profitable when I started, back in 2000, early 2000s, mid 2000s, when I was playing all of these games. And again, I did this for years. I paid off my university with it. Certainly no complaint. But the problem was I would have these periods of boom where I came up with a game and the game worked and you could make a crap ton of money at the game. And then the funds would adapt. And then you'd have a period of time of no money or losses while you figured out the next game, and while you figured out the next game, and while you figured out the next game. And it was this game of cat and mouse where, right, think of it as like a hacker versus, a website that's trying to prevent hackers. Right? The hacker figures a workaround, and then the website shuts that door, and then the hacker figures another way, and then so it was just this constant game. And then eventually it just got to the point where I said, listen, I'm just not gonna play that game anymore. I'm gonna go, grab something like a Trade Ideas, try to, instead of scalping like this, I'm gonna try longer term moves. And then I just think it's one of those things that as I get older, it just gets longer and longer. Sam's asking, so then is looking at the tape a waste of time? Depends, right? If you're scalping and you're scalping successfully, then I'm never going to tell you anything you're doing that's making you money. I'm never going to tell you not to, unless it's like, I'm averaging down into losers or something like that. Is it the best use of your time? I would say no, right? I would say the best use of your time is coming up with longer, more consistent trading strategies, as opposed to kind of gimmicks like that. And the main reason is that gimmicks like that, you always got to remember that your order flow is getting sold. Every time you hit the button, that's getting sold to other market participants. So, do you want to keep playing that game knowing that your scalping is always going to be hindered by the fact that your order flow is getting sold? I myself generally want to deter traders from looking at things like scalping techniques, things like this. Again, there are people out there right now that are still making crap tons of money scalping. Totally exists. However, that number of people is shrinking, and their game is going to get harder and harder and harder. Whereas there's other games out there. Basically, do you want to fight the basically you're fighting the banks and the brokers. If you're scalping or HFT trading, do you want to fight them and you have to use their own technology and their own order flow in order to fight them? Or do you want to just come up with, just sidestep them entirely? So what I have chosen to do is to sidestep them. Again, doesn't mean that's the way you have to do it, but that's just what I'm interested in. Taking a look at this Loco here. Never eaten at one of these, but this is a fast food chain, I believe. Very interesting, just like the area of support that it bounced at here and here. It's kind of sold off a bit on Friday and then bounced again. Had earnings last week. Excuse me. So that's out of the way. And then 9% short float. So this one's going on the list too. Slim pickings, I've noticed, which is common for my trading style. It's more of a breakout style. And when the market's been running for 6-7 days up in a row, it's hard to find, things that can still break out but don't look like they're underperforming the market. CEIX, I'm going to add this one as well. I was watching this on Friday for a break over this doji, and it looks like it just made another doji. So I think if we take another crack at that, that might be a good one to take. Obviously very strong here. And nothing for an earnings date, so I'd have to check that. But no, I would, it's one of those things, is like, would I suggest somebody get into scalping? Like, it would be the same thing as, would I suggest somebody get into trucking? It's like, trucking hasn't been replaced, and it may take another 5-10 years until it's replaced by autonomous vehicles. But it's like, it's coming, and it's not an insane distance away. So do you want to spend your time developing that skill, or do you want to spend your time developing a skill that's going to be more relevant for the longer term? So I personally believe that algorithm development is one skill in trading that's going to be very fruitful for a very long time. And then I wholeheartedly believe that technical analysis as a whole will always have relevance, because it's just a crowd psychology is all technical analysis is. And as long as human beings are part of the market, and I know there's people who argue all the time, well, it's all robots now anyway. Well, humans build the robots, and they build the algorithms, and they build this, that, and the other thing. It's also not true that it's the robots that are moving the markets. You can see that thing with GameStop and Wall Street Bets, that you're insane to think that, looking at what GameStop's doing, you're insane to think that robots control the market. Then it's about time frame, right? These HFT firms, what they're doing is they're buying your order flow to give you a worse price so that they can make a couple ticks here and there. That's very relevant for someone who's focused on a very short-term trading philosophy. It's not at all relevant to me. HFT firms, if you're holding for even a day, right? You're entering and then you're holding for that entire day and you're selling. You shouldn't really care that they're selling your order flow, and you may be out a couple ticks here and there. It has more to do with the fact that if you're scalping, you're trying to risk 5 cents to make 10 cents. Well, if you're losing a cent in and a cent out, that's a big discrepancy, right? If you're looking to risk 25 cents to make $1, you care way less about that 1 cent that they hit you. Yeah, I've got time to do a chart request if anyone has any charts they want me to look at, with the premise that I am not a financial advisor and trading can be risky and you would lose all of your money and blah 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 yada yada yada. Because I'm really not seeing much. So I think the trade that I'm going to do, if you guys just want to skip, I guess, to that part, is going to just be iRobot. That's going to be the short one for this week. Nothing else I'm seeing is standing off the page. So I'll do chart requests for a little bit if anyone wants to take a look. Does IBKR sell order flow in your pro accounts? I would assume all brokers sell your order flow. Now, if you're paying for commissions, the odds that they're selling your order flow is way lower. Instead of if your broker is free, they're selling your order flow, and not only are they doing it, they're not hiding it from you. It's in your contract that you signed with them. They have to make money somehow. They're not offering you free commissions out of the kindness of their heart and going to lose a bunch of money doing it. It's just the way that it is, Glenn's asking, is this Trading View? No, this is Trend Spider. And again, if anyone is interested in Trend Spider or trade ideas, links are in the description down below. So that helps out the channel. Again, just pays me directly until I figure out what I can charge you guys. I've got some ideas if we wanted to chat about that. The product that I'm going to build for Stats Edge. It's basically just going to be an intimate look into my my trading plan. Like, I'm thinking of opening up my trading journal so you guys can read that, having a private Twitter where I tweet out trades that I'm getting into and ideas. I don't want to be a signal service. I never want to be a signal service. I never want to tell people what to trade. I want to teach people how to trade and go from there. All right, we can knock out a couple of these. Where was Sam was first there with RYTM. Rhythm Pharmaceuticals. Earnings out of the way, decent short float. That's interesting. Pullback, right? You got a pretty obvious area of support to play off of right here, which actually filled the gap right here. So I think this is the tail of the entire chart right here, this $25 area. I think this is kind of the only piece of information that you actually need to trade this thing. Where if we're at 25 and we're above 25, then it would be interesting to see if we're going to bounce higher. If we get below 25, then I think you're probably done. And this high volume node in through here, the gray bars, I would be very careful about that. There's a whole bunch of volume that's done above you. Now, if we anchor a VWAP to the top, you can see that, yeah, so that goes to right here. So $30. So, right, the risk reward looks interesting because I always look at these anchored VWAPs as they act as areas of support and resistance. So, it means that if you're buying it here at 26 and you've got to stop under 25, you're risking $1. It could get to 30-ish if we bounce. That's 5-1. That's a great trade. And what was the other one? FNGD. Oh, so that's inverse FANG. Yeah, I get it. I get the inverse FANG. I don't know, just a downtrend to me. It's and that's a big betting against the market, so I'm not as big a fan as that. SLB is oil, right? Schlumberger. Yeah, so again, oil's been good. Schlumberger is oil, right? Yeah. I'm not really good with your guys' companies down there. So what I will say is that, if we look at something like LPI, petroleum, we're outperforming. So SLB is underperforming just a little bit. So I'd be careful of that. It looks like it's struggling with this area right here, so $30. So if it can't kind of reclaim $30, I would start to be worried. I think you could just draw a downtrend line like this, and if we spend too much time below that downtrend line, maybe it's time to get out and reevaluate. No worries, Sam. I'm not going to do too much more of this, but I'll do a little bit and then take off. Airbnb, I will always do this. Full disclosure with Airbnb, I'm in some. Call options. I bought some calls right in this area. They're doing very well. Basically was noticing this broadening pattern. Can I draw this better? There's the top of the broadening pattern. There's the bottom. So I am in. I'm basically hoping for just one more push higher to sell my calls, but it looks good. It had a long run from 160 up to 200 to get to where it is right from where it was a little bit ago. So I wouldn't be shocked to see, some backing and filling going on here. But it's an interesting stock. It's a hot company. I think it's kind of part of the reopen story where, things are going to be kind of coming back to normal and people are going to be doing stuff. For the long weekend, I rented an Airbnb, so I use the product and I like it. For a trade, again, I like it. Just know I've already done this analysis because I'm in it. But you've got this here, here, and here. So you have this area of resistance right above you, and you've kind of gotten a pretty big push just to get to that. So I wouldn't be shocked to see a pullback and a pipe and a pop after that. But I'm a shorter term swing trader, so if we can just get one more nudge through here, I'll probably be exiting my calls there. CCL Carnival Cruise. Yeah. Part of the reopen. So again, looks good. It has a long way to go till it's up at its pandemic highs of 50. So that will be interesting. Earnings is too close for me. I don't like earnings being very close to a stock. So, but again, it looks good, right? You could certainly get a nice push off the ADMA here. You could get a little ramp going there. So it's not a bad looking chart. Just be very, very careful of the earnings that are coming up. And then GBTC, I'll actually just look at Bitcoin as instead, because I trade Bitcoin a lot. Let's just do the Kraken futures. So the one thing I am watching in Bitcoin is this upper trend line right through here. That gets us up to about the 60s before anything would happen. I'm also watching, let me add indicator here. For the RSI. And this is something that I've looked at quite a bit and is a little bit concerning. So the concept of bearish diversions, for people who don't know, it basically looks at a momentum indicator and compares that to price. If price is making higher highs and the momentum indicator is making lower highs, it basically just shows that there's less power on each move before there's a pullback. And we're seeing that quite a bit here with Bitcoin, where there's just less power, less power, less power. So I am not in any right now. I'm actually looking to short, but I need some sort of a setup. I need a technical pattern or a candlestick pattern or something. But I am looking, I am looking to short because of this bearish diversions. And the way I look at it now is, so again, Bitcoin's been a great trader. Let me see. Okay, it's not going to let me go that far back. Interesting. But, these lines that I have drawn in here, these are trades that I've taken, right? So I took this and I got that run. Not all of it. I wish I did. I think I got out like here. And then back in here, and I got a fair amount of this run, and then out a bit here. So it's been great. It's been a great trader, but the way I look at it now is a lot of the hype, in my opinion, is gone because, say Bitcoin gets to $100,000 a coin. That's less than a double, which, a double is still great. That to me looks like your risk is a little bit more to the downside than the upside. So that's the way that I look at it. Your risk is a lot higher to the downside in this than it is to the up. Maybe it goes to $1 million. Who knows? Again, I have vested crypto interests elsewhere with companies and things that I consult with and work with and am owners of. So if Bitcoin goes to $1 million, I will hopefully be financially rewarded from them. And so I always kind of look at the short side of Bitcoin as a hedge against my life, if that makes sense. But this RSI divergence, definitely something to take a look at. It's not a trading system or a trading philosophy, but what it is it can be a warning sign just to say, hey, the momentum, basically what it means is the momentum on each of these up moves is decreasing. As the stock is making higher highs, the momentum in which to push it into higher highs is decreasing. That doesn't mean it can't just keep rocketing with low momentum. You could have a slow upward grind that lasts forever. So you don't just say bearish divergence short, but you may say bearish divergence, okay, let me watch for, a bearish candlestick setup or something like that. My sister-in-law loved your beginning trading series. That's great. We actually have a plan to bring that back. I don't know if I should. There's only 15 of us here, right? What's a small secret between 15 friends? But so basically, Trade Ideas is launching a service that's going to be a cheaper service. That's something that I've built with some algorithms. It's basically going to just give you 5 stocks that show a relative strength each and every week, and it's going to be a fairly inexpensive service. And the performance of these stocks that I've back tested for 3 years and I've forward tested now for a year, just beating the ever-loving crap out of the market. So great performance. So Jess is busy. She has her own work to do. She's starting her own business venture herself. So hasn't really had the time to do a lot of what we taught, but I'm going to, give her some trading capital when this new service comes out and have her trade it there. And then we'll be back into the office here doing some videos. So I'm glad she liked it. All right. So I'm going to look at the 2 more stocks that are there, and then we're going to call it a day. And that's RWLK. We'll take a look at, is that Israeli? Oh, that's an interesting looking one. What do they do? Crap. And I don't know anything about the Israeli markets either. Whether or not they're, and basically I just mean whether or not they're regulated. Like every time I see the Chinese flag here, I get incredibly worried just because of their lacks. So, a medical device which engages in design, marketing, and wearable robotic exoskeletons. That sounds cool. Yeah, I like that you had a breakout of this area right here, and you can see it both in this prior high, and you can also see it in the gray bars, which is our volume by price. You can see that it's kind of holding above that high volume node that happened right here. I really like the fact that it seems to be holding on, and you have a pretty clear area of resistance right here. So I think if you get above that, which is around $3, you've got potential. You know where you're wrong, and I love any trade that you know where you're wrong. If we're back under, say, the low of this candle, you're wrong, right? So 233, you're in at 3, you're out at 233, so you're risking call it, I don't know, up 70 cents just to make it easy. So if you're risking 70 cents, you got to say, what are the odds that I can get $1.40, which would be like right here. And because, that's still well below the highs, I think that's achievable. So I like the look of this one. In fact, I'm actually going to add that to my list right here. So thank you for that. I'm going to take that. And earnings was February 18th. So that's out of the way for sure. Tesla is broken right now. I want one. If I ever stop being cheap and maybe Stats Edge trading goes big and I put out something and a lot of you guys like it and buy it, maybe we'll buy a Tesla with it. But it's just broken right now. It was untouchable for the longest time here. Just absolute rocket. With the reverse split and everything. I think the chart shows it going from like $10 to $800 pretty quick, right? So just a monster. However, we had, you could call this, let's do it with this, right? You could call this a shoulder and a head and then maybe another shoulder and then a big push down. Now it's one of those that it's come down enough, and the market made all-time highs on Friday, and this one's just hasn't recovered. So right now it's guilty until proven innocent for me. So what I would do is I would just watch to see this bounce. If you can get kind of back into the 800s, maybe it starts to recover. If it fails below this, then, I think we could go and test this high volume node at 4. So just nothing I would be involved in myself. I should definitely look into the Israeli stock market. I'll take a look. Hi, Mike Join Lake. Any stocks you're particularly keeping an eye on for the reopening trade coming out of COVID lockdowns? I think a lot of those have already been bought. Things like IMAX, which I know is a Canadian company, but you guys got that down there, right? I think a lot of this has already been hit. Oops, I keep doing that. But yeah, IMAX is something that's interesting to me. But you can see, again, a lot of these, like IMAX just makes big screens. The push up has already happened in a lot of these. So I'm not even actually looking at more so reopening names, but I'm looking for what's next after reopening names. What is the next thing that's going to emerge? And I don't know what that is, but I'm going to continue to scan for stocks that are strong and go from there. Tesla puts might be money. They might, but there's, again, it's to me, it's the short is done as well, right? The way I look at it, so, okay, say I do think it's going to go to 400 from here. Well, it's at 700 now, so where's my stop going to go? Is my stop going to go 800? Well, so then I'm risking 100 to make 300, and yeah, I could do that, but I still think that's kind of a lofty goal. Now, in the long run, if Tesla gets to this 400 area, which is near where it broke out here, and it settles and then pushes up, that I think is insanely bullish. And again, right, it's one of those things that in the grand scheme of things, right, if you zoom out Tesla enough, it's a little blip on the radar, right? Especially, let's go to a log scale, right? It will show you, right, from a logarithmic point of view, that's a super blip on the radar. So it's still a great and strong stock, but again, it's just, there's nothing here that I see that gets me super excited to trade this thing. Any thought on NFTs? All right, let's wrap up NFTs for a little bit and then I'll take off. I think it's like anything where it's certainly a bubble, in my opinion, right now. And I think that bubble will end really poorly, sadly, for a lot of people who are buying things like, JPEGs for $600 and things like that. That, to me, I think is kind of ridiculous. And again, there's this thing that a lot of people don't get, but the pattern, if you think about it, is fairly obvious, and that's a new technology or a new, yeah, let's just call it a new technology, because it kind of is. It's all crypto and Ethereum related, I know, but it enters the scene. Everybody gets super overhyped for it. You have a bubble, the bubble pops, and then you start to see things emerge that make sense. So, with the original Bitcoin move, it was that 2017, holy shit, Bitcoin's going to become a real thing. It spikes to 20K, and then it pops, and then it tanks entirely. And then from there, you start to see use cases emerge, and things start to become, once you get all the hype guys out of the way, things start to make sense. Like, so for NFTs, things that I like for NFTs are like, artists being able to sell things directly to people. I think what Arcade Fire, which don't really listen to them, but they're doing something where you get some exclusive songs and a backstage pass and things that exist, and you can use them. So long story short, I think it's like most things where there is going to be a use for it. I think that use is going to become obvious in a few years. I wouldn't be buying any NFT right now with my own money, just because I think everything's way overhyped and you could get smacked. It's one of those things. It's like there's the bigger fool phenomenon where, if I buy Jack Dorsey's tweet for $10 million, maybe I'll be able to sell it for 20 million to someone else, and that's all they're doing it for. And that could go the way of Bitcoin, where eventually it worked out for you, or it could go the way of Beanie Babies or Cabbage Patch Pit Kids or something like that, in which it doesn't. So if you have fun money you want to play, great. If you're going to try to use them to get rich, don't. Wait for the crash. That's just like, if you waited for the Bitcoin crash to $3,000, you're a happy man now, right? If you waited for the 2008 crash in the market, you're a happy man now, right? Don't get sucked into FOMO, right? Buy the second wave instead of the first. It would be my suggestion personally. Not a financial advisor, just some asshole on the internet. Why the hell would you ever listen to me? Let's talk about the service real quick before we go. Let me bring up Notion. And this is what I'm thinking of. And I kind of want to build this with you guys. So my goal with this is to build something which you guys get what you guys perceive and what I perceive to be hundreds and hundreds of dollars of value a month. And I charge $50 for it. And everybody wins. I teach you guys more directly. You guys see a noticeable improvement in your trading, and I make money because I don't want to hide, any part of this, right? I'm doing it as a selfish money-making endeavor, but knowing that the only things that I seem to enjoy more than actually trading and scanning for trades and everything myself is teaching it. So we kind of go from there. So here's what I'm thinking so far. And one is access to all of my scans. And it would just be like a Google Doc link that I would constantly keep updated with whatever scans that I'm using at the time. Constantly, with a little description, right? This is the scan. This is how I use it. This is why it makes sense to me. And not I'm going to sell you a cloud link or something. I'm going to sell you access to all of my scans as they change. You will get them as well. And then I'm thinking monthly webinars that are more like, not like this where it's me talking to a screen. It's all of us. So we get on a Zoom call. I'm going to limit it to a certain number of people, and we're just going to shoot the shit. Someone is going to come on and say, this is, where I'm struggling in my trading. What's my advice? Things like that. But like a community type of a thing, where I will give feedback. Maybe there'll be some other people there that will give feedback. We'll go through trades that we've made together. critique the trades, where could we have done better, like a real like couple hour monthly thing for just subscribers. Access to my trading journal, which will be something like this on Notion, where I will document my feelings on the market, trades that I've taken and the reasons for them, stocks that I'm looking at, that type of thing. And then a private Twitter. And what I'll do in the private Twitter is talk about, here's my watch list for what I'm watching each day, publish that, along with again, anything that I see that happens throughout the day that I think is interesting, I'll tweet out to you guys. And then what I'll do is my personal Twitter, I'll just delay anything that I post on the private Twitter that I want to put on my personal Twitter by a few hours to make sure that you guys would get that first. And then again, I'm thinking in the under $50 a month area. Max for begin with, and then I'm going to just cap it at say 100 people, absolute max. Shut it down for 6 months, get a feel out of it. I want to add more. I just don't know what that is. I want it to be, a handful of things. Again, I want it to be just such an overwhelming value add that, I'm very thankful that I have a lot of people who see that it's a big value add and the money I make from that, and that you guys are so thankful that I'm doing something like this at such a great value that you never want to leave, right? That's the goal. But that's what I'm thinking for now. Thoughts, feedback, all that kind of stuff is welcome. My email is in the description of every single video, along with all of the softwares that you saw today. With a skin in the membership, and we'll make it a great community. That seems to be good feedback. So again, if you think of anything, let me know. I will certainly pull the trigger on it at some point. I'm going to wrap up here for the day, guys. If on your way out, you guys could just hit the like button. Again, that cringes me every time I say it, but YouTube just keeps emailing me saying, hey, we would recommend your videos to more people if you tell them, if there's more likes on your videos and stuff like that. I am going to do the short video, which again today is going to be IRBT. I will do that video right after this, and that will be uploaded sometime in the near future. So again, thank you for the feedback on the service that I'm trying to build. The easiest way to make sure that you're kind of up to date on everything is, just like I sent out an email that I was doing the stream, is go to statsedgetrading.com, which is my website right here. And if you scroll down to the bottom, there's this email address. Put in your email. I'm not going to sell the email list. I'm not going to spam you with anything. That's not my goal here. I'm not trying to become a billionaire off you guys. I like teaching. I think there's a way I can be rewarded for it. That's my thinking there. But anyway, that's it. Stay tuned to the video. Should be up in the next hour, give or take, depending on how long YouTube takes to process it. And I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for coming out.